Are John Kilby, I know you're on. John Moore, are you with us? And David DeOrio?
John Moore is here.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, then I think we're just waiting for David DeOrio.
I've been here, Mayor. I'm here.
You're here. All righty. Perfect. In that case, I believe we had, and I know John, I believe we have everyone here, so we'll go ahead and get started. And just before we begin, clearly we will more than likely finish sooner than time to go into the council meeting. So we'll just do as we always do. We'll just, you can leave and do whatever, and we'll just, Mitchell or Michelle will keep us on, and then we'll start at 5 o'clock. We can't start earlier than 5. All right, that having been said, we will call to order the Town of Lake Lure regular meeting of the Marine Commission Tuesday, March the 9th, 2021 at 4 p.m. Having had a chance to read the agenda, do I hear any comments, edits, omissions?
Mayor, I would like to add a under unfinished business discussion of wake surfing.
Okay. Is there anything else, any other change anyone would like to make? Then do I hear a motion to adopt the agenda as edited?
Commissioner Bryan, I'll make a motion we adopt the agenda as amended by Commissioner Moore.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, and if you will vote by name, please.
Bryant, yes.
DeOrio, aye.
Kilby, aye.
Moore, aye.
Then the agenda stands adopted as amended. We will now open the meeting to public comment. Anyone in the public who has joined us is invited to speak. If you'll please keep your comments limited to 5 minutes or less. If you wish to speak, please unmute your mic, introduce yourself by stating your name and residency or business and what you would like to talk about. Please keep the comments at 5 minutes or less. Michelle, have you had anyone who has indicated to you that they would like to speak? I don't hear anyone.
No, I have not.
All right, in that case, we will continue on to item number 4, which is our consent agenda. And is the only thing on the consent agenda is the adoption of the December 8th, 2020 regular meeting minutes. Do I hear a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion that we adopt the consent agenda. This is Moore.
Do I hear a second?
Kilby, second.
All in favor?
Bryant, aye.
DeOrio, aye.
Kilby, aye.
Moore, aye.
The consent agenda is approved as written. We will now move on to unfinished business, and our new addition, which Commissioner Moore wished to add, was surfing, excuse me. Mr. Moore, would you like to lead off with that?
Yeah, I would. The past week or so, I guess it was 2 weeks ago, I ordered a wakeboard for my son. That's just kind of, you go back and forth on the end of a ski rope, like just like water skiing, except a little slower. Well, I got, as a result of that, I got a lot of advertisements, and a lot of them were for wake surfing. And we've had that discussion and have had a concern for the amount of wake surfing on the lake. And even, I think it was last year, we thought we were getting ahead of it by limiting the weight of boats. That's not going to work. The wake surfing now is they make all kinds of accessories to put in your boat to make that gigantic wave on the back. They make something called a pro shaper that you attach to the gunnel of your boat, not to the gunnel, to the back of the boat, to the off foot. I can't, the term doesn't come to me, but you attach it to
Transom?
the back. Transom. And it really increases the size of the wake. You can get bladders that go in the boat in different places and can fill those up with water in basically any boat and make a big wave. There's a new pontoon out now called the Avalon Wake Tune. And if you look at that on the internet, you'll see it zipping along and two people wake surfing behind it. I saw a video said build a monster wake surf wave with any boat. It was on YouTube. But my point is that I think we all agreed that Lake Lure is just not large enough to support wake surfing. It's not that far from one shore to the other. And I would like for us as the Marine Commission to request the Lake Advisory Board to look at this right away and come up with a recommendation. I talked with Dean earlier and asked if it would be, what kind of challenges he might see in enforcing this if the town decided to just say no wake surfing on the lake. And Dean, if I don't want to speak for you, I mean, if I'll ask you again here in front of the group, is that something that you could enforce, you think?
Yes, sir, I do believe so. And when you get into the wake surfing or boarding or whatever, one of the telltale signs on that, other than the huge weight that it's throwing off, is they're not being towed. They'll use a tow rope just to get them started, then they'll let go of the rope and just keep riding the wave behind the boat.
Yeah, and it's becoming very popular, and that's fine on a big lake. But here we just, each arm of the lake is not all that wide, and when you get one of those boats coming down, and they have to pass other boats, it's just not practical here. And sorry if anybody that's bought a wake boat and possibly won't be able to use it on Lake Lure, but wake boat will also, pull a regular skier or regular wakeboarding or tubing or anything like that. So it's not like they can have no more use of their boat. But anyway, that's my suggestion, is that we as a commission, as Marine Commission, request a recommendation from the Lake Advisory Board, and hopefully we'll end up passing a rule that that prohibits wake surfing on our lake.
Is there any other discussion or observations by any other commissioners, or does there seem to be a consensus that we'd like to make this recommendation to the LAB?
Well, Commissioner Kilby here. There's been a lot of discussion already with LAB about this, so they're familiar with it. And I guess, to Commissioner Moore, when we send them a request that they study it and bring a recommendation back to us, like I said, they vetted it already a lot. And I agree with Commissioner Moore. I'm sorry for all these people that spent $130,000, $50,000, $160,000 for a wake boat, but our lake will just support so much. And it's not, if we could, you could stop the licensing, permitting of more new wake boats, but specifically designed for wake surfing. The problem is now you can make any boat a wake surfing boat with the bladders and stuff that come with it. So
if I might just ask a quick question to you, Mr. Gibbons, how exactly are you going to enforce it?
Well, most of it's just going to be by watching the boats. You can see what kind of wake that these boats throw off, if they're running ballast or how they're towing somebody. I mean, now the wake surfers and stuff, that's a dead giveaway. When you see a man out there not attached to a boat, but the boat, he's still right behind the boat following it, that's a dead giveaway. But watching these boats, how they sink down in the water and roll that wake off of them, you can tell when they're using ballast and when they're not.
I agree with that. We have the manpower to do this, I assume. I mean, I'm all for enforcing it, so.
It would be part of what I will work with the local police or with Lake Lure Police Department on getting their drivers to be able to identify it. And I'm sure there's a lot of YouTube videos out there for them to look at these boats and see the difference to kind of keep up with what's going on.
If they're not allowed, if we don't allow wake surfing, then there's really not I don't think there's a motivation to make the big wake. I guess maybe somebody might want to just wakeboard on a big wake, but I think we could, Dean, tell me if you think we could include in our rule or ordinance a prohibition against these things that fit on the back of the boat and or on the transom and using the ballast. I guess you can't tell anybody they can't have a ballast, but we can tell them it can't be filled with water.
Right.
And maybe,
Yeah.
I mean, you can't just readily see that, but you could.
Right. I believe that we could easily put into the lake use regulations of what could be used or applied to boats or not. Lake Oswego, I looked at their stuff some time back, and they banned ballast on their lake totally. If you come in with a boat that has a ballast system on it, they actually make you have it disabled by a mechanic so that it can't be turned on or off or whatever. It has to be completely disabled. Is something that they put into place. I don't know if that's where we need to go up front, or if we need to start educating and seeing what kind of compliance we can get out of people through that way first.
It might be just interesting to find out how that's worked out for them. Do you know how long they've had that rule?
It's been a couple of years or so since I talked to them about that rule, and they had put it in, so they ought to have some good data behind that by now.
Yeah, that might be helpful if you still know those folks.
Okay.
Yeah, Dean, Commissioner Bryan, I tend to agree there too, you know, with so many people who are vacation renters and, you know, people who do come to Lake Lure, they are willing to pay these, you know, the week-long fees, especially in the summer. And, you know, a stronger stance on something like this is probably better than, I mean, for educating our residents is one thing, but educating someone who's just on vacation, you know, if it's part of our codified ordinances, it's probably a little more straightforward at the end of the day for people like that. So,
Agreed.
yeah, I think the stronger stance is better than something that, you know, has a sort of a gray area or some ambiguous data, and it will make the job easier for LLPD at the end of the day. If it's just very straightforward, this is what we do, and this is how we have to operate for public safety. Yeah.
I think we ought to proceed with some sense of urgency too, because I think ideally we would come to some resolution before the summer season, because during the summer, there are going to be other people out there buying wake boats. And if we're going to do this, I think the sooner we rip the Band-Aid off, the better.
Yes.
I'd say go ahead, Mr. Kelly.
Dean, if you had to guess, how many of the actual specific wake boats do you think we have now?
I'm not for sure. If you'll remember at the last LAB meeting, Mark Helms, chairman, said that he was going to do an inventory for us.
Right.
And get that number. One thing I was going to suggest is maybe we put into the lake use ordinance effective at the time that you approve it, would be a ban on any ballast systems.
Yeah.
They may have it on their boat, but the use, I guess something along the lines of the use of ballast systems on any boat is prohibited on Lake Lure.
Well, as Commissioner Moore stated early in this conversation, it's unfortunate for people that have already bought boats, but we know they will become more and more popular. We know more and more people will buy them. If this ballast thing, more and more people will retrofit their boats and to use those. And our shoreline and our boathouses and our property over just think of the expense that would be coming down the pipe, as that we got more and more and more of these things on the lake. It just for Lake Lure, it just does not make sense. I don't.
Well, to the point of the expense, then I agree with Commissioner Moore. The sooner we get an ordinance, the better then. To preclude people from buying it. So, so is it consensus then that we want to make this recommendation that this be visited by the LAB at their next meeting?
I'll make a motion that we ask the LAB to give us a report and a recommendation on a wake surfing regulation, that it's our consensus that we would like to see it eliminated, and that we'd like to get that as soon as they can. That's kind of that's not worded very well, but
It's
I
the
think
gist. Yeah. Do I hear a second?
Commissioner Bryant, I would second the motion.
Mayor, if I could, I just want to, before we vote, just want to add one thing. I think all the wake boats, all the ones I've seen, you've got to actively ballast it in order to use it as a wake boat. So I don't think it's a prohibition against a wake boat. I think a wake boat, like Mark's boats, the Mastercrafts, they are regular boats that you ballast down to make them a wake boat. So I don't think the wake boats should be illegal. I think it's the use of the ballast systems that we're after. I would just add that before we vote.
I agree.
I agree. That should be included in the ordinance then.
Yeah, that's good.
And you'd have to have some pretty strict guidelines for that, Commissioner DeOrio.
Yeah, I mean, that's it, right? When they
will
ballast
test it.
down and they're using it, that's what we're trying to go after. So I think Mark is savvy enough to figure out the mechanics of what we're trying to go against. So I have confidence that the LAB will figure that out.
And this is not the
Dean
first
will
time
have-
we visited. Yeah.
I think Dean will have some good information from Lake Oswego too, that, since they've already been down this road.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Patrick, would you like to second that amended motion then?
I'd second the amended motion with DeOrio's comments. Yes.
All righty, all in favor?
Bryant, yes.
Furio, yes.
Kilby, yes.
Or yes,
Then the resolution as amended is passed unanimously. We'll move on to new business then, which is a request from Jay Freeman for a non-motorized permit for a work barge that exceeds the maximum limit allowed. Dean, would that be your?
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you. Last year, Jay Freeman bought a steel work barge that was 10 foot by 30 foot wide. And it does not have a motor power. It's pushed around by a pontoon boat or smaller man-made barge or handmade barge. And he is requesting a permit for a second 10 by 30 non-motorized barge. These barges will interconnect and lock together to make a bigger platform for him to be able to carry heavier weights of riprap, mini excavator type things of that nature. And they will still be pushed around by a separate boat. And the reason it's coming back before you guys again, because it does exceed the maximum 28-foot length in the lake use regulations.
Is there any discussion, questions or discussion? Do I hear a motion then to accept the staff's recommendation?
the staff recommending that we issue the permit.
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion. We accept the recommendation.
I hear a
Kilby,
second.
second.
All in favor?
Bryant, aye.
Furio, aye.
Kilby, aye.
Moore, aye.
Then the recommendation is unanimously accepted. That completes all the items on our agenda. We will adjourn then until 5 o'clock. And as I said, it is just 4:19 now. So that gives you until 5 o'clock. And Mitchell, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Commissioner Kilby, so moved.
Commissioner
Second.
Bryant, second.
All in favor?
Commissioner Bryant, aye.
Yorio, aye.
Kilby, aye.
Moore, aye.
Then the Marine Commission stands adjourned. We are now, Mitchell or Michelle, I guess you're doing it. You will actually mute everyone until we resume at 5 o'clock for the town council meeting.
I can do that. And we can resume at 5.
All right, then. Break time until 5 o'clock.
Yep. And for the
Thank you
public,
all.
this is the same Zoom meeting link that we'll use at 5 o'clock if you're already on. So there are a couple of members of the public. It's the same Zoom link for the 5 p.m.
It is indeed.
Yep. Okay.
Just until the other commissioners leave, has everyone gotten the email about the Thursday meeting at 1 p.m.? And is that agreeable to everyone?
It's okay with me.
Commissioner Bryant available? Yeah.
Well, Commissioner Kilby, I would prefer an early morning rather than middle of the day, but I'll make my schedule work.
There's already a meeting, unfortunately, John, for several people at 9 o'clock that morning.
Yeah, we can do another morning, but that's fine. I'll make it work. My personal opinion on these meetings that are off schedule is anytime we can do them first thing in the morning. I think it's best for my schedule. I know. So
I agree with that. Unfortunately, Shannon had set up a telephone conference call at 9 o'clock, so we're not able to change that. But if that works for you, okay, we appreciate your coming in. So everyone else, that works for everyone. David, that works for you as well?
Yes, ma'am.
All righty then. I think y'all got the email. So we will not, because of the statute that governs during emergency management times, remote meetings, we must give the public 24 hours to respond after this Zoom